Alright everybody, we got a chance to play with the little John Deere dozer some the other day. T-roll come down and we got this thing apart. Here's what the inside of the little baby dozer looks like where the final drive goes. It's a little nasty and that brake band looks a little shot. So we're probably going to get a new brake band for it. But other than that, the insides look pretty good. The throwout bearing's kind of questionable, but you know what? It wasn't that hard to get apart, so it's probably going to stay for a little bit because I ain't made out of money. There's all that fine hydraulical plumbing that's got to be redone. I just love that stuff. And I noticed this while I was underneath taking bolts and stuff apart. The hitch plate has had the hell bent out of it. I don't know what they got on with that thing, but somebody about ripped the hitch off the sumbitch. Let's go in here at the shop and see what all we had to do to it. Time to make a scrap run. Ain't it funny how a little shop can accumulate so much shit? Alright, here is the old final drive housing. Y'all remember that big old chunk was broke out of it there. But what we also found when we got it apart is right around here, that spot's been welded up too. And here's all the stuff that come out of it. There's the bull gear and the axle shaft and the bearing on the axle and everything's in pretty good shape. And I think that at some point they had put steering clutches in it because the clutch pack's in pretty good shape. There's not a lot of wear on it. And there's a couple of bearing races laying around that come out of it, and first one thing and another. But the big thing, here's our new final drive housing. Notice how unbroken it is. The big thing though is when we got it apart and got to looking, this is the shaft that drives that gear where the quill goes on the outside. This is what you could see when you looked in the hole where the quill was missing and where that piece was busted out. This is the other end of it. And we got to trying to figure out what that little bearing was for because there wasn't nothing in it, and nothing was attached to it. And then we figured out that was got to looking in the book. I hate it when that happens, but every now and then you got to just shut down your pride and look at the book. And we noticed that there was a pilot shaft that goes in that little bushing or bearing. And the pilot shaft, I lied to you. There was something in it, but we didn't know what it was. And it was the end off of the pilot shaft. And where is it laying around here? Something. There it is right there. That is the pilot shaft that was stuck in that little bearing. And it had just broke clean off. And we had to weld us a rod to it to get a hold of it and pull it out of there. So that left us with a shaft that went in there with no pilot shaft to go on it. And didn't really know how much that was going to cost, but didn't even ask because we got welders and metal lathes and all kind of cool stuff like that. So here is the shaft, and here is the pilot shaft, except what we hadn't finished filming, or hadn't finished it yet, because it's only going to be this tall, and then we got to trim it down to fit that, and cut the weld down too. But that's the new shaft with the replaced pilot shaft, which will go in the end of this right here. And then we got some bearings that we've got to get, because the reason that pilot shaft was broke, and probably the reason that housing was busted, is because when we got the whole thing apart, in this bottle of squirt here, or squincher, I don't know what the hell squincher is. I don't even know where the shit this came from. Anyway, inside this bottle here, is all the pieces and parts of a bearing that used to be in that hole right there. But it is all crunched down and in little bitty pieces and was laying in the oil pan for the final drive housing. So, right now, the way the project looks, we got 3 bearings that's got to be picked up or ordered, and since this is Labor Day weekend, that's not going to happen until probably Tuesday. We got to put all of the pieces back in that and reattach that on the little dozer. The other thing that we might possibly end up doing, well, I got to put injectors in it, and so Tuesday I'm gonna pull the injectors off and carry them to the diesel shop over there, and they're gonna rebuild them for me. And once that's done and this is back on and it's running, I may pull the final drive off the other side just to have a look at everything. And because if this side the bearing was shot and ate up like that, the other side might be too, and just figured that's as good a spot or as good a time to take a look at it anyway. But I don't really like where it's sitting, so I'm gonna get it this side back together and move it because it's been in the way for about a year now, and then go from there. So that's the end of this video. I'll post another one when we get started back getting her back together. So y'all just stay tuned and we'll see what comes along next.